Welcome to this course, Introduction to Python Programming. So we have been able to see from the previous video, the introduction to Python and how to be able to succeed in this course. So Python is our core programming language, which we are going to be using, and then Django as the framework, which we use for creating our backend. But then before we can be able to understand Django as a framework, we need to understand the basics of Python programming and how it's actually worked so that I don't just introduce you into Django and then you don't know the basics. And at the end of the day, you might just become confused. So what is Python? Python is a powerful, versatile programming language used for everything from web development to data science and machine learning. So this presentation provides an introduction to the fundamental concepts of Python programming. So next we are going to see is what is Python. So Python is high-level interpreted programming language known for its readability and ease of use. And yeah, so now here you can be able to see that there are words that we are being marked out, which is so firstly you have here high-level language. So what does it mean for when you are referring to high level language? High level language simply means that that's language of the humans. Then we have language of computers. Language of computers are zeros and one, while language of human beings are the high level language. So for in Python, you write the language in a human language, which is English. And then what you've written is being interpreted. Now, what is interpretation? It's just like when someone is speaking French and you need to translate it to English. So the person who is speaking the French is the one who is speaking the high level language, while the interpreter is the person who translates from French to English language. So in programming, we have what is referred to as interpreter. So the interpreter converts what has been written into English into zeros and one, which will now make the computer to be able to know what you have been able to type into the code. And then that makes the code in Python to be readable and easy to use because you don't have to be writing in zeros and one, but you will be writing in your normal English, which you speak, and then it will be interpreted. So the Python programming has an interpreter. So let's basically see some of the features of this Python. Number one is an interpreted language, right? So Python is an interpreted language. What this simply means is that the Python code is executed line by line, making it easier to debug and test. So interpreted language, I've told you earlier on that it is when you write in English language, the computer automatically translate what you've written into zeros and ones so that the computer can be able to understand and gives you an output. Then we have dynamically typed. You don't have to explicitly declare data types, making Python code more concise, right? So dynamically typed what that simply means, you have different types of data. So as you are typing the data, the data is it's dynamic. So Python recognizes the data type you are using. So you don't have to specify what kind of data type you are using. So we are going to see what are some of the data types in Python. Then we have what we could refer to as object-oriented. So what is object-oriented? Object-oriented means that it supports concepts like classes and objects. So we are going to also look at what are classes and objects in the latter part of this course. Then Python has a large community, a vast community, provide extensive support, libraries, and resources. So when we say large community, we are referring to there are a lot of people who are coming into Python and which have made the course to be easier. And with that community, you can always reach out when you have problems. So it is not a work alone kind of coding system where you have fewer people in that industry. There are a lot of persons, so you are sure to have support. So next thing we are going to look at is uh, the next thing we are going to look at is why Python, why learn Python. So basically, why we are learning Python is because for this very course, Python will enable you to be able to create. So we have Python frameworks, as I've said, just like Django and Flask facilitate building web applications. So Python, in another sense, you can use it for data science. So Python has libraries such as Pandas, NumPy, Scikit-learn, are essential for data analysis and manipulation. So then for machine learning, we have libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch are used for developing machine learning modules. So when you talked about libraries in Python, what exactly do you mean by libraries? So these libraries in Python, they are already made tools from that comes automatically with Python, especially when you install applications like, when you install IDE like Jupyter Notebook, you have this particular framework that come automatically with it. And then because we will also be looking at IDE and how to be able to install um, the softwares that we are going to be using. Then, so I said Python libraries are tools that have been created in order to make our programming processes to be very easy. And they are designed to be able to solve specific tasks in Python program. Okay, so next we are going to be looking at is Python syntax and basic types. So we are going to be looking at, I will just explain what this simply means, then so that you can be able to understand. So what we have is indentation. So indentation is crucial for defining code blocks and structure. I'll be explaining that as I show you how to install, well, after we've installed uh, after we've installed our code, I'll be showing you on how to be able to go about it. Then we have comment. Comment are used to explain code and improve readability. Then keywords, Python uses reserved words like if, else, for, and while for control flow. Then we now have operators. So operators perform arithmetic operate comparison and logical operations. Okay, so the next thing is we are going to look at is um, variables and data types. So in Python, we have different types of data type. So the different data type we have in Python, we have integers. So integers basically deal with whole numbers, while floats basically deal with decimal numbers. Strings are text data, while Boolean deals with either true or false. Then we have operators and expressions. So operators are like mathematical operators that you know in your primary school or secondary school or even university. So we have arithmetic operators, we have comparison operators, we have comparison operators, then we have logical operators, and then we have assignment operators. So arithmetic operators basically help you to perform basic math operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. While comparison operators will use operators like equal to sign. And you are going to see difference between um, this equal to sign and this equal to sign when we start coding. Then logical operators combine Boolean expressions using operators like and or and not. And then uh, next is the assignment operators. So assignment operators enable you to be able to assign a variable, enable you to be able to assign a value to a variable. So that's the function of the operators. Then we now have control structure, so which are usually referred to as conditional statement and loops. Now, control structures in Python are, in programming, you don't just start writing code. There are order of operations. There are rules of engagement. So just like in the military, for instance, you don't just go to battlefield and start fighting. There are rules of engagement. So to say that you want to go and fight, you want to go and rescue, let's say, people who have been kidnapped, and then you don't just go and start shooting gun. You have to lay down conditional statement on how you are going to engage. If the armed robbers do this, then we will do this. Else, if they don't do this, we will do this. Else, if they do this one, we will do this. So all of these are conditional statement. And if you go to the market to go and buy, you can say to go and buy things for the house, maybe your foodstuff and all. Then what you need to do now is to say, if tomato is 500 naira, for instance, I will buy two basket. But if it is 1,000 naira, I'll buy 1,000 naira on. Else, if else the market does not have tomato that is let's say fresh, I will buy sachet tomato. Else I will just look for something else to buy or I won't buy anything. So as we deal with our life, we are always dealing with conditional statements. Even in offices, wherever we are always dealing with conditions. So we are basically going to be looking at how conditional statements are being used in Python. Then we have loops. So use for and while loops to iterate over sequence of data or repeat actions until a condition is met. So when we talk about loops in Python, what do we simply mean? We are simply referring to the fact that something is running in a cycle until a particular condition is met, then it is going to stop. That is what a loop is being referred to. Then functions and modules. We are also going to be looking at functions and module as it is required for us to be able to have an effective programming. So we are going to look at the function of loops, code that perform basic stacks and module collections, functions and variable that can be imported into other programs. So what are functions? Functions so define functions to encapsulate logic and improve code organization. So define the function with a name and parameters. And we are going to look at how to do this, write the code block inside the function, return a value or perform action. Then use module to organize code and import functionality from external library. So you are also going to be looking at how to work with files in Python, open files, read data, write data, close files, and all. Then Python libraries and frameworks. So Python rich ecosystem of library and framework extend its functionality and provide tools for specific domain. So we have data manipulation. So libraries like pandas, NumPy offer um, they offer powerful tools for us to be able to manipulate data, especially in terms of data analysis. Then we have workflow development. So frameworks like Django and Flask simplify web development. So and then Django is also used for back end. Then we have automation. So library like Selenium and PyAuto GUI. So GUI is graphics user interface. Enable automation tasks like web, scrapping, and graphics user interface interactions. Then next one for the Python frameworks are machine learning. So libraries like TensorFlow and Python provide tools for developing and deploying machine learning models. So that is for the Python libraries. So that's for this guy here. So next we are going to, so that's all for now. See you in the next course.